So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to your next session. For this session, we're going to discuss about hatchery design. So, last time we talked about the steps in commercial hatchery operations. So, we have an overview of what is hatchery and incubation operations are. And also, we talk about incubation and hatching, whether natural or artificial, and the different types of incubators. So, um, now we're going to continue. While waiting for you to come in, we will be talking about hatchery design, and hopefully I can show you videos of the different hatchery designs around from the very conventional and ways of hatchery. So, what is hatchery location? No, for the chick hatcheries, these are actually modern buildings that provide separate rooms for each hatchery operation. So, yung pinakita ko last time was the more of the methods, no, in your own in something. It's just even made up of a box, that something you can work on while at your as a starting a very simplified way to start, no. But in this hatchery, conventional modern buildings, so each room has its individual requirements. So you will see later on the video that I'm going to provide you. And the hatchery area should be separate unit with its own entrance, also an exit, and associated with those of the poultry farm. So the hatchery is situated at least 1,000 feet from poultry houses. So medyo malayo siya. And also that is to protect from any this pests and diseases, no, occurring. So the size should be based on also the egg capacity of the setters and the hatchers, and the number of eggs that can be set each week, depending on how large or the volume of production you want it, and of course based on your resources and number of chicks hatched each week. So the space to be allotted for future expansion should also be necessary if possible. So if your business is going well, so you can expand more later. For the hatchery rooms and structures, it must be adequate in size, no? And usually hatcheries of medium size will hatch chicks twice a week, but large hatcheries will hatch more than two hatches per week, and hatching schedules will affect the size of some rooms in the hatchery. So depending also on how many the capacity of the room, and also how many hatchery or hatching schedules you want. And so the floor space of the various hatchery rooms when there are two hatches per week are: first, the shower room. This is to maintain the biosecurity, essential that all persons entering the premises shower and change into clean clothing in adjoining rooms. So it's perhaps aseptic, no? And it's the only entrance and exit, and the hatchery becomes an isolated unit as far as human beings are concerned. So the hatching next is the hatching eggs or receiving counter. So in this, employees deliver hatching eggs to the hatchery, will not enter the hatchery in the course of their duties. So eggs should be delivered to the hatchery through a specialized door. And next is the fumigation room. Should be small as possible in order to reduce the amount of fumigant na gagamitin. So there should also a fan to circulate the air and exhaust of the fumigant. And the next one is the egg or holding egg cooler room. So the egg holding room. Hi, Jacqueline. So
Morning, ma'am.
I just have started about hatchery design. So you were the first one to come in, and thank you for always bearing with me. So um, I know you know what already means by hatchery. So we first talk about location and then the size of the hatchery and then the hatchery design and its rooms or structure. So these are the components of the rooms: the shower room, the hatching eggs receiving counter, the fumigation room, and the one that I am discussing while you're coming in is the whole egg holding or egg cooler room. So it's a room about 8 feet high and it's insulated or slowly ventilated with complete air movement, cooled and humidified. That's why egg collar room siya. So it must be refrigerated para ma-maintain ng 65 degrees Fahrenheit, and meron ding forced air type of refrigeration unit to keep a uniform temperature throughout the room. No? And the fifth part is the pre-incubation warming room. So it's where the eggs kept for purpose of drying the sweat over eggs, and it can be achieved by providing sufficient number ng ceilings in the room. So and the fifth one is the setter room, or these are called incubators, and the size of the setter will depend on the equipment used. So, yung exact room size involves aisle and working area necessary to move the eggs and chicks in and out of the machines, and a minimum space of 3 feet should be allotted between the slice of adjacent setters from the walls to side or the back setters. So, a minimum of 10 feet should be allotted in front of the two setters when kept face-to-face arrangements. So, and the sixth one is the egg candling or should be dark room. So, usually constructed in between the setter and the hatcher room for candling eggs. So, the candling is usually practiced when eggs are transferred from setter to hatcher kasi pipiliin mo yung anong yung nag-fertilize kasi hindi naman magha-hatch yung so makikita mo mamaya on the video also on the next discussion kung ano yung mga dapat i-disqualify, and then the dark room is should provide easy facilitation ng candling. So the hatcher room next is it's where the hatchers are kept, and there should be sufficient space to allow around hatcher similar sa setter room, and it should be prone since prone siya for contamination, so with fluff and debris during the time ng hatching. So the door towards the setter room should be tightly closed unless na necessary. And the chick holding room is the next to hatcher room, or chick holding room is present. And a relative humidity of about 65% should be maintained to prevent naman excessive chick dehydration. So, and in this point, the chicks are sex separated, graded, vaccinated, and placed in chick bags. Okay, so in the washroom, after chicks are boxed, the trays are washed in a tray. So in a tray washer, and then on the necessary pipelines with high pressure pumps are kept in this room. So makikita nyo mamaya. And the clean room na, when the trays are washed, they are placed in their trolleys and moved to the adjacent clean room. So there are also those are the different hatchery designs that I will also show you the real video. And so in incubation naman, there are 5 major functions or principles involved in incubation and hatching of poultry eggs. So this must include temperature, humidity, ventilation, like oxygen, carbon dioxide level, and air velocity, as well as the position of eggs and turning of the eggs. So from the previous video, you have seen na doon sa improvised na made of carton na box. So, kailangan talaga siya i-turn yung eggs, no? So, let's start with temperature. So, ito yung pinaka-critical environmental concern kapag we talk about incubation. So, last discussion, we have seen the embryo development, no, and it starts developing when temperature exceeds the physiological zero. So it means the temperature below which embryonic growth is arrested and above which it is reinitiated. So kailangan yung required temperature should be above or should be above the physiological zero na mag-growth yung embryo niya. So, we have different depending on the situation, no? But for chicken eggs, it's about 24 degrees Celsius. So, hindi naman siya masyadong mainit, no? Yung 24 degrees Celsius or 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So, for optimum temperature chicken egg in the setter, for the first 18 days, would range from 99.5 to 99.75 degrees Fahrenheit in the hatcher. In the hatcher naman, last 3 days is lower na kaysa setter, which is 98.5 degrees Fahrenheit. So, yun yung kanyang temperature or physiological zero. No? So, dapat within 24 degrees Celsius or 75 degrees Fahrenheit or even higher to initiate the embryo development. So, aside from temperature, we also have humidity. So, its incubation the incubation humidity determines the rate ng moisture loss from eggs during incubation. So, generally, humidity is recorded as relative humidity, by comparing the temperatures recorded by wet bulb and dry bulb thermometers. So, yun yung sa mga thermometers. So, the recommended incubation relative humidity for the first 18 days, kasi in the first video that we had last time, we have learned that in the first 18 days, nakasetter siya, but after 3 days for hatching na siya, no? So, it takes 21 days for from incubation to hatching. And so the humidity would range from 55 and 60% in the setter. And for the last 3 days would be higher, 65 to 75%. So ito yung humidity na kailangan. So the ventilation is also important in incubators and hatchers, since fresh oxygenated air is really necessary for the respiration ng ating chicks, no? The oxygen intake and the carbon dioxide given off. So the developing embryos from egg setting until chick removal from the incubator is very important for ventilation, and the generally oxygen content of the air in the setter remains about 25% and 21%, and for every 1% na magda-drop yung oxygen, there is also 5% reduction ng hatchability. So i-remain dapat yung 21% na air content. So, ang carbon dioxide naman is also a natural byproduct ng metabolic processes ng animals during embryonic development also of chicks. So, they are released through the shell. So, akala mo impermeable ng cell, no? So, ng shell. So, it's actually permeable, no? And it can release but gases, no? Not really liquid. So, the tolerance level ng carbon dioxide for the first 4 days in the setter should be 0.3%. And yung CO2 levels should be above 0.5% in the setter to reduce naman. This will reduce naman hatchability and completely lethal na pag tumuntong ng 5%. So, dapat i-maintain ang 0.3%. So, about positioning of the eggs, so artificially incubating should be held with their large end up. So, yung tumoy, nasa down, no, face downward. So yung large ends should be up, no, and it is natural for the head of the chick to develop in the large end of the egg near the air cell. So nakita niyo sa last video, doon siya magbe-break ng shell, so it should be on the upside. And for the developing embryo to orient itself so that the head is uppermost. So kapag during the embryo development naman, parang mag-guide din yung cheek for how is the orientation of its head. So, yung egg position horizontally will incubate and hatch normally as long as they are also turned frequently, no? Kung halimbawa, horizontal lang nimo, dili nimo ang large ends upside. So, it will still hatch as long as gina-turn mo. So, under normal circumstances naman, eggs are set with large end for the first 18 days sa setter and in horizontal position naman for the last 3 days in hatcher. So, why do you have to turn the eggs? So, lahat ng birds, chickens, and quail turn their eggs during nest incubation. So, yung natural incubation na nangyayari, nagte-turn din yung eggs. No? The nature provides nesting birds with the instinct na yung mga nesting birds na ita-turn nila yung eggs during incubation. Instinct na nila yan. And similarly, eggs to be turned at least 8 times actually a day. Then turning of eggs during incubation prevents the developing embryo adhering to the extra embryonic membranes and reduces the possibility ng mortality. So, the large commercial incubators, the eggs are actually turned automatically each hour na 24 times a day. So, ganun na nga sa commercial. And most eggs are turned into position up to 45 degrees from vertical and then reverse in the opposition direction to 45 degrees from vertical naman. So, makikita ninyo mamaya. So, handling ng hatching eggs and storage. So, the quality ng hatching egg cannot be improved after lay, but one can reduce the loss ng hatching egg quality by adopting some standards procedures. So, ano ito? So, first, maintaining egg quality in the breeder house. So, kailangan enough clean, dry, and mold-free nesting material para ma-avoid yung crack and dirty eggs. So, that's to maintain quality. And also, hens should be trained to use nets to lay egg instead ng laying on the floors or by providing sufficient number of the nest boxes while in advance before they lay starts. So, i-provide mo lang para ma-train mo sila before sila mag-lay ng eggs. So, ang frequency naman ng hatching egg collection is also very important in the quality. So, they should be collected after 4 times a day. No? Ganun pala. And hatching eggs are susceptible to contamination and every effort must be made to reduce microbial load. So, but in the commercial one, it's different, no? Because like dito, hatching egg should be collected at least 4 times a day. So makikita nyo mamaya sa video na sabay-sabay lahat naman. Pero siguro minintain nila ang kanilang quality na dapat sabay-sabay. So makikita mo yan sa handling. So eggs that are cracked, dirty, or misshapen are usually not used or not already for hatching, and very small and very large eggs also do not hatch as well as eggs in the middle size range. So hindi sila magkapareho, so dapat by batch mo sila na magkaka-size. Eggs also with thin, very porous are not likely to hatch well because of the excessive loss of water during incubation. So, parang nakikita mo na thin lang yung shells, madaling masira, so it will not also hatch well. And also, you should reduce contamination ng hatching eggs. So, mag-fumigate usually ng formaldehyde gas as effective method ng sanitizing hatching eggs or solution containing quaternary ammonium compounds, formalin, hydrogen peroxide, or phenol. So, ito yung mga medyo toxic but moderately effective in reducing the microbial load over hatching eggs. So, do not wash eggs unless necessary kasi pag basa siya, mas lalong microbial contamination will occur. So, it's necessary to wash eggs always by using damp cloth with water warmer than eggs. So, para hindi maiwasan yung movement ng water from inside to outside or outside to inside. So, dapat warm water gagamitin. So, how are you going to store the hatching eggs? So in normal hatchery operation, eggs cannot be set immediately after they are laid, no? So many hatcheries set eggs once or twice in a week also by schedule siya. So i-store muna sila. So as a matter of principle, hindi rin, 'di ba, hindi mag-develop or hindi mag-embryo development kung hindi sa proper temperature yung kanyang ano nga ang tawag nun, Jacqueline? Ang kanyang temperature zero ba yun? Tama ba ako, Jacqueline? So tubag lang diha, Jacqueline, ha, if you heard me. So yun na nga, kung kahit i-store mo siya ng up to 1 week, the hatching edge should be also kept in an egg holding room with a temperature ng 65 degree Fahrenheit and relative humidity of 75% para capable pa din siya for the hatching, no, or setting. So again, the hatchery operations of the chick involves the production of the largest number ng quality chicks possible for the hatching egg received at the hatchery. So there are the commercial hatcheries follow actually these different sequences. We have first securing hatching eggs, 2 traying hatching eggs, 3rd fumigation, 9 pulling the hatch, 10 hardening, ready, cold storage, warming the eggs prior to setting, loading of eggs, handling, transfer of eggs, sexing, vaccination, chick delivery, washing and cleaning, and disposal of waste. So makikita ninyo sa video mamaya these different operations, no? So so konti na lang. So I guess we can still finish this one. So of course, securing hatching eggs, hatcheries should get the hatching eggs from the breeder flock or from your own or other or from other hatcheries. So traying hatch eggs is these eggs from the breeder flock should be transferred to the egg setter trays in the hatchery immediately after receiving. So during time na, and fumigation, kanina we have discussed. So can be fumigation can be fumigated in the fumigation chamber with 3 times concentration ng formaldehyde for 20 minutes. So this can kill up to 99.5% bacterial organisms on the shell. So the 1x concentration means 20 grams ng KMNO4 or potassium manganese oxide with 40 ml of formalin for 100 cubic feet. So example lang yan ng concentration. So cold storage, when eggs are not set immediately after receiving, kapag hindi pa siya walang schedule or hindi pa available, so kailangan i-refrigerate mo muna at 65%. Warm the eggs prior to setting is approximately 6 hours prior to placing the eggs sa setter. They should be moved from the egg cooler to normal room temperature. So hindi pag na-refrigerate mo siya, hindi naman agad na isi-set mo na siya agad, no? So kailangan pa siyang mag-warm up, no? And the atmospheric air condenses over eggshells to form water droplets over the shell. So if we usually it's called sweating, no? Usually we observe this in all kinds of food, especially also sa egg. For example, galing sa ref, pag nilagay mo sa normal temperature sa bahay ninyo, no, nag-sweat siya. And then, reload mo na siya after. So, after 6 hours, ilo-load na mo na siya sa setter, cold loading of eggs. And the setter either in all in, all out basis for batch basis, no? So, lahat sabay-sabay, no? Kapag all in, all out. And or by batch yung iba. And most of the commercial hatcheries are practicing batch system of loading the eggs. So, thus, in the setter will minimize the initial time to take the reach normal incubation temperature in the setter. So, kahit malaki, madami ka pang space, so minsan, yung kanilang commercial hatchery are by batch yung paglo-load, hindi sabay-sabay, para yung temperature ay madali ma-reach. No? So candling, this is now what we called as infertile na egg. Pag makikita mo after candling and leaving embryo ito at 5 days, ito early dead na talaga siya. Ito living at 18 days na. Ito yung makikita mo when you do the process of candling. So eggs are kept in the front of the light source to find out the defects in eggshell embryonic development and others. So in the commercial operation, this is done when the eggs are transferred from the setter to hatcher at 19th day for chicken eggs. So isi-set siya ng 18 days, in the 19th day magka-candling. And there are two methods. The fastest method involves the use of table or mass candler. So the entire tray of hatching eggs may be placed on the mass candler and examined with one observation. And then candling with a spot candler or individual candler is lower but is more accurate pag isa-isahin. So makikita nyo sa video mamaya. And the transfer of eggs in modern incubator, eggs are preferred from setter to hatcher at 19th day of incubation. No? Ito na yung transfer sa the 9th day. Then approximately 1% of the eggs are slightly pipped and 1/7 of total incubation period is needed to keep the eggs in the hatcher. So yun yung mga percentage as observed. So pulling the hatch is the next process of removing the chicks from the hatcher called pulling the hatch. So, pag na-remove na yung, after na-hatch na yung chicks, so they should be removed from the hatcher as soon as all are hatched, about 95% dry siya dapat. But while excessive drying in the hatcher should be also avoided. So now you are hardening the chicks after that. So they are placed in the chick boxes. They are soft in the abdomen and are not completely flapped out, so they do not stand well. And they must be hardened by leaving them in the boxes for 4 to 5 hours muna. And this will make easier to grade the chicks for quality and usually easily vent sex. So makikita na yung sexy nila. Mas easier. So for the grading ng chicks, so no chick below minimum standard must be allowed to go out to a customer. So kailangan within the quality standards such as no chick deformities, no unhealed navels, and above minimum weight, and not dehydrated and can stand up well. So how do you sex after that? How do you sex the chicks? The layer type all day chicks are needed to be sex separated either by vent sexing or auto-sexing yung sa feather niya. So sa meat type day old chick sexing is not practiced. This is only for breeding. So and also for layer, no, kasi dapat mangingitlog sila, 'di ba? Babae dapat. So vaccination chicks are also vaccination against maricosis in the hatchery before i-deliver mo. And method is subcutaneous in the nape of the neck. So, pag-deliver na ng chick should reach the customer farm early in the morning, and not only the weather is cooler during this part of the day, but the early arrival allows a full day for close observation ng chicks by the caretaker. So dapat kadlawon pa lang or early in the morning. And then washing and cleaning. So after that, yung hatchery and between hatches should be clean, no? Importantly. So it should be complete process except for the setters and setter rooms. So every piece of equipment must be thoroughly vacuumed, scrubbed, disinfected, and fumigated. And then dispose the waste. So this include infertile, mga non-hatch eggs, and calf chicks that should be disposed in such manner to create problem to the neighbors and will not contaminate the hatchery premises as a whole. So we will now watch a video on the different things that I have discussed to you. No, and next time will be our last topic, which are the infectious diseases ng poultry. So lahat ng ito makikita niyo sa video. So, but before we proceed, do you have any questions? Sarah and John Paul.
Ay, ma'am, good morning, ma'am. 90, ma'am, 90 days, ano yung patingin do to sa 90 days before ang egg, ma'am. 19 days lang mama.
18,
Pisa na siya.
18 days i-incubate nimo siya sa setter, and after that sa ika-90th day i-candling nimo siya, makita nimo kung asa ang nag
Naisimilya.
living, asa ang living. It beats between two kani mga dead na ni siya, or kani infertile, kani dead. So i-transfer na siya sa hatchery. Hindi pa siya mag-hatch. So 3 days pa siya sa hatchery. After 21 days, mag-hatch na siya.
Okay ma'am. Thank you ma'am.
Kita ninyo dito sa video. So,
Thank you ma'am.
Once the eggs come in from the farms, the ladies are busy grading the eggs. They're taking out all the misshapes, the dirties, the visible cracks. It's quite a labor-intensive practice for us because we literally grade every single egg. The eggs that we're busy grading at the moment are for export. So we actually...
I don't know kung nag-start na siya.
Once the eggs come in from the farms, the ladies are busy grading the eggs. They're taking out all the misshapes, the dirties, the visible cracks. It's quite a labor-intensive practice for us because we literally grade every single egg. The eggs that we're busy grading at the moment are for export. So we're actually sending out fertilized eggs. That's why they're getting packed into boxes instead of into our setter trolleys. They're fertilized, but they need 21 days in an incubator at a certain temperature, 38 degrees Celsius. The biggest challenge is obviously to keep the eggs at a constant temperature so they don't start the incubation process. And we keep our egg room at about 19 degrees Celsius. These boxes were packed yesterday and they're off to a hatchery in Mozambique that hatches Dale Chick. We supply them their eggs twice a week. When we grade into our setter trolleys, once the setter trolleys are filled up, we put them into lines for each farmer and each flock. Some farmers have different amount of flocks, but obviously all flocks vary in age, giving us different size eggs. When grading eggs, we actually grade the pointed side of the egg down and the rounded side up. It's just because the air pocket for the egg, for the hatching chick, is at the top. So when it does hatch, it can get that first bit of air before it actually pips out of the shell. If it gets set the other way around, chances of it hatching are very slim. We've got 24 setters. Setters pretty much incubate the eggs for the first 18 days. We monitor the humidity and the temperature pretty closely. It's 101 degrees Fahrenheit or 38.5 degrees Celsius. And humidity, we keep between 48 and 50% relative humidity. That's optimal hatching temperature for a chick. As the days progress, we do drop the temperature ever so slightly by 0.1 degree every day. And that's because the embryos and the eggs start producing their own heat. So if we keep the original temperature, then the machines will end up overheating over that 18-day period. Each setter holds 24 trolleys, and each trolley holds 5,060 eggs. So that's equivalent of around about 121,000, call it. The eggs are turned every hour using turning cylinders. And this is to simulate the mother hen turning the eggs in the clutch. So this is our transfer room, where after 18 days in the setters, incubation in the setters, we have to transfer the eggs out of the setter trays and into hatcher baskets where the chicks would hatch into the baskets. If we didn't transfer them, the chicks would be hatching into the setter trays, which they would be falling through the large gaps. On our older flocks, you do get hangers, which are eggs that explode due to a bacterial infection. But that's because the older flocks have bigger eggs, and bigger eggs have bigger pores, so they're easier to get contaminated by bacteria. Hence, that's why we're spraying the eggs for the older flocks and the more susceptible flocks with a bioreactive solution, which is a solution that helps prevent cross-contamination between the eggs. The solution we spray the eggs with is a non-toxic solution to the embryos or to the chicks, the developing chicks inside the eggs. It doesn't cause any harm to them. It just prevents cross-contamination of bacteria, which could result in infected yolk sacs in the chicks when they do come out. After the setters have been transferred, the chicks or the eggs get transferred into the hatches now. These are where the actual chicks hatch out of the eggs. As you can see, this is the hatch today. We've got quite a full hatch over there. This is today's hatch for the orders that were placed 3 weeks ago. We try and work on a hatchability of about 85% for our eggs. There is going to be infertile eggs and eggs that just don't hatch for whatever reason. And that's why we always have to set that extra 15% to get the orders that we get. So when the trolleys come out of the hatches, we put them onto the line for the ladies to grade the chicks. The ladies are looking for first quality chicks, first grade chicks. So any defect in the chick is put into a seconds pile, and only first grade chicks are passed on to our customers. Chicks are graded into crates of 100, and then they're all vaccinated at the bottom over there, and then put into trolleys of 2,500 per trolley. This is what we classify as a first grade chick. It's got a navel that's healed pretty well. There's nothing wrong with the navel. There's no red hocks, which means that it's been overheated in the shell or in the hatcher. There's no dehydration. The skin on the feet looks fine, and there's no red above the beak, meaning that it struggled to get out the egg as well. So this chick's definitely a first grade chick. Depending on which customer we have for the day, depends on which vaccinations we use. Each farm pretty much has its own vaccination schedule prescribed to them by their vets or one of their own vets. Now we're doing a spray vaccine, and that spray vaccines can vaccinate against Newcastle's infectious bronchitis diseases. And there are different strains, just depending on what the farm has experienced in the past, what we vaccinate against, what they want us to vaccinate against. These chicks are getting vaccinated with a subcutaneous vaccination. Just certain vaccines have to be administered via subcutaneously, as mainly for the Gambora virus. But also you get your Newcastle disease and your infectious bronchitis disease that can get vaccinated through subcutaneously. The blue dye in the vaccine is just for a check, just to make sure that the chicks have been vaccinated. And they last for a couple of hours, so it's sort of for an in-house check really, not for a farmer check. These are Ross chicks, which are going to KZN farming, or Sunrise down the south coast. They specifically want Ross for their farm. We also hatch Cobb, and coming to an end, our Arbor Acre flocks. This is one of our naturally ventilated trucks. There's a dampener in the front which allows fresh air to come through, and then there's fans on top which draw the hot air that the chicks produce out of the body. It is an insulated body to help maintain temperature as well.
Okay, so let's see it. If that is a conventional commercial hatchery, but when you are actually in, like I have mentioned in the discussion, pag manual lang, so you're going to collect the chicks every 4 times a day, but in as big as those that is what is shown on sa commercial. So kung 95% or sabi nga nila 90 to 95% ko-collect. So let's watch another video which is very automated. No? Yun commercial lang yun. Ito automated talaga. So as you can see, napaka-automated niya, no? And this is an ovo vaccination na already. Ayan. So the title is Inside the $1 Million Chicken Farm. So makikita ninyo, this is a 16-minute video and our time left is 8 minutes na lang. So hindi natin matatapos. So I hope you will check in the end kasi hanggang hanggang dressing. So if once na mag-end, so please I will just chat you on the group chat, and then if you have questions and clarifications, and just continue on on the video sa inyong Google Classroom if you have the link. I'm also going to send you the link sa group chat.